Hey guys, welcome back to another week of Mortgage Matters in Minutes here, sponsored by Mortgage Specialists. Once again, I'm your host, Brent Rasmussen with Mortgage Specialists. So this week is a little bit of a dated topic, not crazy, but something that's been really exasperated over the last 3 years. But the question comes up very commonly on why are buyers paying more than the asking price? The first answer is that thankfully over the last few weeks we've seen this change, and not as many people are having to bid so much over the asking price to obtain a property. But let's talk a little bit more in detail about why this occurrence has happened and what is going on with the market. Basically, houses, as we know, are a commodity that can be bought and sold just like a can of green beans, just like a car, just like your clothes, all of the above. And just as we run into when the markets change, such as the supply or the demand for the particular product, just like during the pandemic when we quickly ran out of toilet paper and meat goods and chicken and things like that, is that the more people want something, the less that there is for it to be sold. So what we've really experienced over the last couple of years has not just been pandemic related, but if we go back to 2008, after the last credit crisis, is we didn't develop enough properties for the amount of demand that's needed right now. So we have looked at the numbers, and new housing starts and new builds over the last 10 years has been the lowest 10-year time frame that we've seen in American history of house building. So the supply and demand is really high, which creates now what we're seeing as a seller's market. So the reason why buyers are having to bid over asking is because there are more buyers than there are sellers. So that's called a seller's market. If we see a market such as 2008 and 9, where there were more houses than there were buyers, then it's a buyer's market. So there's a difference between a buyer's market and a seller's market. We just happen to be close to a high seller's market right now, which again, from the initial question here, we're seeing that change. We're seeing that in our office, that as interest rates have risen a little bit, people aren't willing to price or put an offer in as high. And again, that's a simple supply and demand. As rates go up, your payment also goes up, which allows you to buy less of a home. Because if you want to purchase a home and you're looking for a $2,000 house payment, if your rate goes up a full percentage point, that eats into how much you can afford as a $2,000 house payment. Maybe for simple math, that goes to $2,100 for a payment. Well, that means you can now afford less of a home price. So the way the market has been lately, as we mentioned, is a seller's market, but still it's going to be that way for a little bit of time because we don't have enough inventory. And people all need a place to live. And as rents rise, people decide they want more space. They want a property that they can change, modify, fix up, do what they want with, while also gaining an asset, which home prices and home values generally consider going up. We talked about those the last couple weeks, is that home buying or purchasing a home, is home a good investment? And we talked about why that homes and houses are a good investment, even though just like your stocks, just like your 401ks, your retirement plans, you're going to see some bumps in the road. And we've seen that here this last year, that stock prices and bond prices and mutual fund prices have dipped a little bit. So we're not getting as good a rate of return. But over time, it's been historically proven that the prices continue to go up. Even though we see a dip here, eventually they will come back up. But the markets will ever change. And we're seeing that in the middle of one right now. This last, I would say, month, we can totally feel it with our clients. We can totally feel it in the market as with interest rates have crept up. The market has changed and it's converting a little bit less of a seller's market and more of a buyer's market, meaning you have a little bit more time to evaluate the house that you want to buy. Maybe you're not competing up against as many offers. One study by Qualia stated that over the last 6 months, a third of all people purchasing a home paid more than they anticipated. Also, the numbers have been proven that on average across the country, a home buyer has paid over $30,000 more than the actual asking price. That's again on average across the country. Here in the Midwest, we might be a little bit lower just because our home prices are a little bit less. But as you go to California and Florida, that number might be higher than 30,000. But across the board, according to the studies that have been established, people have paid nearly on average over $30,000 above list price. So again, are markets always going to stay the same? No, they're not. Home prices are going to change. Home markets are going to change, and we're going to be a part of that. We're going to be here to educate you and guide you along the way, and we're seeing that happen, which is forgiving more for the buyers, obviously, is that you have more time to search around, look for houses. You have more houses available to you at this point in time, and you might not have to bid as much over asking price. But why are buyers paying over asking price? Because they need to, because nearly they have to. If they want that property and they want that particular product, they have to pay what the market is bringing for that price, and that generally means over asking. What the hard part of all this is no one knows exactly what house is appraised at. Appraiser's job is to appraise the property, but they do not do that until halfway through the process of already accepting a contract. If you got 10 different appraisers, you're going to come up with 10 different probably appraised values. So there's never an exact number on what your house is exactly worth. There's a range of what your house can be valued at. And because of that range is why a lot of buyers are paying more than the asking price. Sometimes there's a reason why sellers are putting a price low to hopefully get a bunch of people competing against each other and bid that home value up. Sometimes they just don't know what the value is and they don't know what the market is going to bring, so they throw a number in there and they'd rather be low than high, so they obtain some offers. But generally at the end of the day, a home is worth what a buyer and a seller is agreeing to come up with the number together. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of education as you prep yourself for going out in this market and looking for homes. I can tell you now, it's still a great market. We're seeing a lot of people get their properties a little bit easier now. Obviously with rates ticking up a little bit, people are more concerned about their payment. But with that, obviously gives a different set of decisions, which now means you have more time, but maybe less buying power. Doesn't mean that home values or home markets are due for a correction. It doesn't mean that we're going to see some kind of housing crunch or crisis. It just means the markets have changed and we have to adapt and we have to modify as those markets change. Next week, next month, 3 years from now, the markets will change again. And we just want to be on top of it, knowing and understanding the entire market to give the best advice for you as a home buyer. So again, I'm Brent Rasmussen. We'd love to have you tune in here each week. You can check us out here on Instagram, on Facebook. We'd love for you to like and follow. If you have any phone call questions, you can reach us at 402-991-5153, or feel free to check us out on our website at mtg-specialists.com. And hope you all have a great rest of your day. Mortgage Specialists. Driven, trusted, reliable.